Most people live their lives trying to fit into a mold created by society. They go to school, they memorize what they're told, they pick a career because it's safe, and they try to climb a ladder someone else built. But if you look closely, you'll notice that the people who stand out, the ones who create extraordinary wealth and impact, are not following a generic blueprint. They've found something deeply personal, something they can do in a way that nobody else can. This is what I call specific knowledge. Specific knowledge isn't taught in school. You won't find it in a textbook or a curriculum. It's not something that can be standardized, copied, or mass-produced. It comes from your natural curiosity, your obsessions, and the things that make you lose track of time. When you're doing it, it doesn't feel like work. To others, it might look difficult, confusing, or even impossible, but to you, it feels like play. That's how you know you're close. Think about the activities in your life that you gravitate toward even when no one is paying you. Maybe you love breaking down complex ideas into simple explanations. Maybe you're fascinated by patterns in numbers, or you spend hours tinkering with design, music, or writing. Maybe you've always been good at reading people, understanding emotions, or seeing opportunities others overlook. These are clues pointing you toward your specific knowledge. The trap most people fall into is trying to copy someone else's path. They see a successful entrepreneur, influencer, or investor and think, if I just do what they did, I'll succeed too. But that's not how this works. If you try to replicate someone else, you'll always be one step behind. The person who wins is the one who embraces what only they can do. Nobody can compete with you at being you. Specific knowledge often looks like a strange combination of skills that don't make sense on the surface. Maybe you're good at storytelling, you understand psychology, and you love technology. Put those together, and suddenly you can create persuasive product videos or build a powerful personal brand online. Maybe you love fashion, you're good with numbers, and you understand logistics. Combine those, and you might build an e-commerce empire. The magic comes from blending what feels natural to you into something that creates value for others. And the beautiful thing about specific knowledge is that it's non-transferable. If you have it, people can't just hire someone cheaper to replace you because it's tied to who you are. It's built on your unique experiences, your personality, and your way of thinking. That's why it's so valuable. In a world of automation and outsourcing, specific knowledge is your moat. It protects you because it can't be cloned. Now, finding your specific knowledge isn't about sitting down one afternoon and writing a list. It's an ongoing process of discovery. You have to follow your genuine curiosity, not what looks impressive on a resume. You have to pay attention to the things you naturally get good at without trying. You have to notice when people come to you for advice or when they say, "Wow, how did you do that so easily?" These are signals. It also means being willing to experiment. You won't stumble upon your specific knowledge by sitting still. You find it by doing, by trying different things, by saying yes to opportunities that excite you. You may fail at some of them. That's okay. Every failure is feedback, a step closer to what truly fits you. Over time, the picture becomes clearer. There's also a deep connection between specific knowledge and authenticity. You can't fake it. If you try to chase something just because it's trendy, you'll burn out. But if you're aligned with what genuinely energizes you, you'll keep going, even when it gets hard. That's why people with specific knowledge often look like they're obsessed. They are not forcing themselves. They're pulled forward by their own curiosity. And here's the paradox. When you find your specific knowledge and lean into it, you stop competing. You're no longer in a race against the world, because the world can't compete with your unique combination. Instead of struggling for opportunities, opportunities start finding you. People recognize your unique value and they want to work with you. That's when things start to compound. So, the real question isn't what's the safest career, or what pays the most money. The real question is, what do I do that feels like play, but looks like work to others? That's your starting point. From there, double down on it, sharpen it, invest in it, share it with the world. Because once you find and cultivate your specific knowledge, you've taken the first step toward productizing yourself. You've built the foundation for freedom, wealth, and a life that feels truly yours. Leverage is what separates those who work hard their entire lives from those who create outsized impact with the same amount of effort. Most people are stuck in a system where their output is directly tied to their input. They put in an hour, they get paid for an hour. They work harder, they earn a little more. But in the end, there's a ceiling. No matter how talented or dedicated you are, there are only so many hours in a day. If you want freedom, if you want to escape the trap of selling time, you need leverage. Leverage is the force multiplier. It's what allows one person to accomplish what used to take hundreds. In the past, leverage came in very limited forms. You could use human labor, get people to work for you, or you could use capital, deploy money to make more money. Both are powerful, but both are also gate-kept. To hire people, you need authority or resources. To deploy capital, you need to already have wealth or access to it. For most people, these weren't easy to acquire. That's why, historically, leverage was concentrated in the hands of a few: kings, industrialists, bankers. Those were the ones who had real leverage. But the modern world changed the game. Now we have leverage that is permissionless, leverage anyone can access. The two most powerful forms are code and media. Code doesn't ask for permission. You can sit in a room, write a piece of software, and once it's written, it works for you day and night. It doesn't complain, it doesn't sleep, it doesn't demand a raise. It scales infinitely across the internet at virtually no marginal cost. That's why software engineers have so much leverage. One person can write an app that 1 billion people use. Compare that to someone working in a factory, producing one item at a time. The leverage is on an entirely different scale. Media is the other great equalizer. For the first time in history, every individual has the ability to broadcast to the world at nearly zero cost. You can write, record, film, or design something once, and it can be consumed by millions of people without additional effort. You don't need a printing press, you don't need a television studio, you don't need a radio tower. The internet gave you infinite distribution. Whether you write a blog, post a video, start a podcast, or share your ideas on social platforms, you are tapping into leverage. You create once, and the world can consume it forever. The real trick with leverage is that it turns your specific knowledge into a scalable asset. Without leverage, your knowledge benefits only the people around you. With leverage, it spreads far beyond your personal reach. Imagine someone who's a brilliant teacher. Without leverage, they teach a classroom of 30 students. With leverage, they film a course that teaches millions. Imagine a coder. Without leverage, they solve problems one by one. With leverage, they build tools used globally. Imagine a writer. Without leverage, they write emails for a company. With leverage, they publish books, blogs, or newsletters that compound in value. This is why leverage feels like magic. It breaks the link between effort and reward. You can put in the same number of hours as everyone else, but your output compounds exponentially. And once you build something leveraged, it keeps working for you even while you sleep. A piece of software keeps running, a video keeps getting views, a book keeps getting sold. You've shifted from linear effort to exponential returns. But leverage also comes with responsibility. When you apply it well, it magnifies your strengths. When you apply it poorly, it magnifies your mistakes. That's why self-awareness and clarity matter so much. You have to know what your specific knowledge is before you scale it. If you scale the wrong thing, you just create noise. But if you scale the right thing, you create lasting impact and wealth. The beauty of modern leverage is that it doesn't require permission. Nobody can stop you from starting a YouTube channel. Nobody can stop you from writing code. Nobody can stop you from posting your thoughts to the world. There's no gatekeeper anymore. That's why so many people today are breaking free from traditional structures and carving their own paths. And remember, leverage compounds. The more you create, the more assets you build, the more leverage you unlock. A single blog post may not do much, but 100 100 blog posts build an audience, a single app may fade, but multiple attempts sharpen your skills and increase your odds. Each effort stacks on top of the last, creating a snowball effect. Over time, the compounding becomes unstoppable. So, the question isn't whether you should use leverage, the question is how. Are you building tools that scale beyond yourself? Are you creating media that spreads your ideas? Are you applying your energy to things that compound while you're not there? Because the people who master leverage are the ones who win. They're not working harder than you. They're working with multipliers you haven't picked up yet. Leverage is freedom. It's the difference between trading your time away and building a life where your creations, your code, your content, your assets continue to generate value long after you've moved on. Once you understand it, once you truly see it, you'll never want to live without it. Most people have been taught to think in terms of hours. They're trained from childhood to measure life in schedules, school periods, shifts, and work weeks. You wake up, you put in your time, you get paid. The paycheck is a direct reflection of the hours you've traded away. This system feels safe because it's predictable, but it's also a trap. You can never truly be free if your income depends on the clock. There are only 24 hours in a day, and no matter how hard you work, no matter how skilled you are, you can't escape that limit if your model is built on selling time. The alternative is to build assets. Assets are things that work for you, even when you're not working. They're creations, systems, and structures that continue to produce value long after the effort has been put in. When you build an asset, you shift from renting your time to owning a piece of the future. That's the fundamental difference between someone who struggles endlessly and someone who compounds wealth and freedom. Think of a book. An author writes it once, and it continues to sell for years, decades, sometimes even centuries. Think of a piece of software. A programmer codes it once, and the program keeps running for millions of users without the creator's presence. Think of a song. The musician records it one time, and it plays endlessly across radios, platforms, and concerts, generating royalties long after it was made. These are assets, efforts that have been crystallized into a form that endures. The beauty of assets is that they compound. If you work an hourly job, every day starts from zero. If you don't show up, nothing accumulates. But if you build assets, every day starts from a foundation that's already growing. The more assets you create, the more they stack, and the more momentum you build. Eventually, they snowball into something much larger than the original effort. That's why some people seem to explode out of nowhere. They've been quietly building assets that suddenly compound into visibility and wealth. Another way to understand assets is to compare them to planting trees. When you sell hours, it's like cutting down trees for firewood. You get warmth today, but tomorrow you need to cut down another tree. When you build assets, you're planting an orchard. At first, it takes time and patience. You may not see results immediately, but once the trees grow, they produce fruit season after season. They require less daily effort, but give continuous returns. That's the difference between hustling endlessly and building a life of compounding abundance. The modern world gives us countless ways to build assets. Content is an asset, whether it's videos, blogs, podcasts, or designs. Once created, they live forever online. Technology is an asset: apps, tools, automations that serve people at scale. Businesses are assets, systems that run with or without you, generating cash flow, intellectual property, personal brand, courses, communities, even investments in stocks or real estate. These are all assets. They vary in type and scale, but they share the same quality. They survive beyond your hours. Now, this doesn't mean hours don't matter. You still have to put in the work up front. Every asset begins as time invested. But the key is that the payoff continues long after the hours are spent. You put in 1 unit of input and get multiple units of output, sometimes infinitely. That's the leverage of assets. They decouple input from output. But building assets also requires a mindset shift. Most people chase immediate rewards. They want to see payment today for the effort they made today. Building assets often requires delayed gratification. You may spend months writing a book before you sell a single copy. You may spend years building an audience before it becomes financially rewarding. You may work tirelessly on a startup that feels invisible until it suddenly explodes in traction. The impatient can't handle this. That's why they stay stuck trading time for money. The patient ones, the ones who can plant seeds and wait, are the ones who break free. And here's the other truth. Assets build freedom, not just wealth. When you own assets, your time belongs to you. You're no longer dependent on constant labor to survive. You can choose when and how to work because your creations are already generating value in the background. This is why the wealthiest people in the world often appear to be doing less. They aren't lazy, they've just built machines, brands, or systems that continue producing value without constant input. The goal, then, is simple: stop thinking in terms of hours and start thinking in terms of assets. Ask yourself, every time you put in effort, is this something that disappears when I stop working, or does it last? If it disappears, you're renting your time. If it lasts, you're building an asset. Over time, assets liberate you. They let you step off the treadmill of endless work and into a life where your past effort continues to compound, creating wealth, freedom, and fulfillment that grows while you sleep.